Morning, Corin Elementary. Good morning, Corin Elementary. Today we are visiting with you because our eighth grade science classes recently visited Airlie Gardens, which is a 64-acre garden located in the city limits of Wilmington, North Carolina. We learned all about water and types of water and testing water and uses for water, all kinds of interesting things that you will learn today during our presentation. We're going to start this presentation with you. We'll go through our slides that we've created, and we will also take questions and do a Q&A session at the end. Before we begin, I would like to introduce two students to you. Janiyah Neal, if you'll stand up, please, and Isaiah Corbett. These two students made me promise that I would tell you who they are because they were very instrumental in helping to create this presentation for you. And the presentation will actually be presented by this whole eighth grade class. So we're ready to get started at this time. We're going to share our presentation with you, and we'll go from there. The next voices you hear will be the students presenting to you.
Our trip to Airlie Gardens, called Adventures in the Water. Airlie Garden is located in Wilmington, North Carolina. It is 67 acres of land that includes freshwater lakes and Bradley Creek, a brackish water creek. It provides homes for many different aquatic animals and wildlife. The picture above shows Airlie's most prominent landmark. It is a live oak that is over 500 years old. We search for little bugs and other living things in the water. They are able to show us how clean the water is. The more varieties of bugs and creatures, the cleaner the water. This is Miss Jennifer. She was the tour guide on this part of the tour.
Ms. Jennifer showed us this chart that shows us what kind of larvae, bugs, and small creatures we might find in water. We use nets to dig to the bottom of the pond. The nets helped us find animals living at the bottom of the water. We laid the nets down on the deck to look through leaves and mud to see what we could find.
We found a lot of animals, including snails, tadpoles, leeches, and parasite worms. We did not find a lot of small bioindicators, such as water fleas or dragonfly larvae. This tells us that pollution from the nearby road was harming the wetland. We then moved to a freshwater lake to run several kinds of tests. These tests also help us look at water quality. First, Linda had to collect a water sample from the lake for us.
Zamira and Aaliyah tested a sample to look at turbidity. Turbidity looks at how much sediment and dirt is suspended in the water. This water sample is great because it is really clear. We also inserted a secudus into the water to test the turbidity of the water. As you can see, even though the water is brown, we can clearly see the disc at the bottom of the lake. This means there is not any sediment or dirt floating in the water.
Nadia's group tested the sample for pH. This test tells us whether the sample is acidic or basic. This sample was in normal range. Here are Montasia and Kahim testing for nitrates in the water. Nitrates are pollutants that can come from fertilizers. This sample was in normal range. This group tested for dissolved oxygen in the water. Just like we need oxygen in the air to breathe, fish need it in the water. They are comparing the levels they found in the chart. The levels were normal.
Our next stop was inside where we looked at water samples under a microscope. In small groups, we looked at a single drop of water under the microscope to see what was in the water at Airlie Gardens. This is a look from the microscopes at what we saw living in the water. All this is from just one drop of water.
Bradley Creek is a body of water that joins the Cape Fear River to the Atlantic Ocean. The water is brackish water, which is a mixture of salt water from the ocean and fresh water from the river. Oysters are an important part of the wetlands because they help to filter or clean our water. They suck in water and filter sediment from the water, releasing clean water. Airlie staff placed old oyster shells on a rope so new oysters attached and grew on the old shells. They allowed us to pull the oysters out of the water to take a close look at oysters.
Looking closely, we could see how many oysters had gathered on the rope. Wetlands are land masses that is saturated in water most of the year. Our tour guide showed us how the wetlands are like some everyday items that we use at home. The wetlands are like a scrubber. They clean the water. Wetlands are also like a sponge. They soak up water to clarify and cleans water. Wetlands are like pacifiers because the grass protects and nurses babies growing in the water. Wetlands are like a coffee filter because plants in the water catch pollutants and help to filter sediment.
Okay. Wetlands are like whisk because they mix nutrients and oxygen into water. The butterfly house is a screened area for butterflies to grow. It is a nursery that protects them and provides them safety. At the top of the screened area, there were butterfly sculptures.
While inside the house, we had a chance to see butterflies up close. They even came and landed on us. Every summer, an artist makes sculptures and donates them to Airlie Gardens. This year, the sculpture created copper creatures for display. The gargoyle picture here is said to protect the land. These are giant hummingbirds made of copper and hanging in trees. You can also see the giant live oak again in the background.
We hope you have learned from what we've shared with you today. Thank you for taking this Airlie Garden journeys with us.
Hi guys, could you hear us?
Yes.
Great, we got a new mic that worked this time, so that's good news. First of all, do you have any questions, or can you tell us something that you really liked about the presentation? Airlie Gardens is really beautiful, huh?
Okay, Karima. Speak loud so they can hear you.
Were there different kinds of butterflies?
She said, how many different types of butterflies?
How many different types of butterflies did you see? Speak up.
There were 100 species of butterflies.
Wow, over 100 different species inside the conservatory area there.
Any other questions?
Were there any copper statues that you didn't mention?
Oh, other copper statues that we didn't mention. Anybody remember one? Speak up. Stand up and speak. I think they can hear you. What? You gotta speak louder than that, darling. He's coming to the mic so you can.
Okay, so there was some, it didn't go into the categories that we had, so we didn't put them in there, but it was, one it was like a house with like trees around it, and it was like a painting, and the other one was, it was a house with a dragon on top of it, and that was from when Airlie Gardens was somebody's backyard.
So there was a house with a dragon on it. Airlie Gardens, like he just said, used to be somebody's backyard. and then they took this whole area and expanded it and made it into a protected area for Airlie, for the city called it, and it is a garden area now in the city, so it's protected. Any more questions or comments? Things you liked?
Any other animals did you see?
Other animals did you see? Fish, swan. Then there. Go ahead.
We saw swans, turtles, fish, different kind of birds, and when we did water testing, we saw a lot of different organisms in the water also.
Thank you.
Comment?
We'll share this presentation with you, and as you look back through the pictures, you'll be able to see there's a great picture of the swans at the very end. You'll be able to see other.
I really like what y'all presented, and it was great.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you.
How many tests did they have to do in the water?
Tell her what they have. You got to speak up though. Isaiah is coming to share with you the test.
Okay, so we did pH, turbidity, and what's we call it? We did pH is whether the water is acidic or basic, and then so you want the number of the pH to be 7.0, no higher, no less.
We
And
also did
turbidity. Turbidity is how much sediment is in the water, so that's like dirt. So if you took a cup of a glass water and you put dirt in it, that'd be turbidity.
okay. Another test.
And then we did temperature. The water has to be a certain temperature for animals to live. So let's say like you were wearing a t-shirt and some shorts. You can't go to like Alaska with that. Okay, and we did nitrate. Nitrate was like fertilizer and sedimentation with fertilizer.
Things that run off from
Runoff with fertilizer.
dissolved oxygen.
And another one was dissolved oxygen. That's the amount of oxygen in the water because fish, aquatic life has to have oxygen, just like people do. And bioindicators are the bugs. We count them. We see how many there are in the ecosystem to see if the water is good. Because if there's not that many, that means the ecosystem is not that good.
Great, Isaiah. Thank you. Okay, we're going to stop the broadcast now, Ms. Ware. Just hang on 1 second.
Okay.